Okay, welcome my friends to the show that never ends, and as you can see, I'm all on my own, no Kieran. Number of things going on apart from Liverpool losing last night, which he's probably not very happy about there. We'll discuss the Liverpool thing in just one moment. This is going to be very short. Over the next few weeks before the season restarts, we'll probably bring a few of these out every sort of other week, every 3 weeks, as news and information comes up. There's a few things I want to discuss today. The first thing is just to mention goal. Forest are in the first half. This is where we are when we're recording this, to 1-0 up. Most people are happy about that. Most people still remember Huddersfield as being a complete waste of space, and Forest, there's a little bit of a thing about Forest coming up into the Premier League. Got a sneaking suspicion they'll go straight back down again into the Championship. Let's start with Wycombe. After all, this is Wycombe Wanderers plus. Six people leave from Wycombe. Pendlebury's about the only name that I really recognise on that list. So no great loss over those 6, although that's probably not how they see it. Judging by the names, I wouldn't have thought we're saving very much money there. So we're certainly not going to we certainly didn't put in a bid for Mbappe, that was for sure. Although he was on a free, and I'll just mention something about that in a moment. The ones that are staying, well, obviously, longer contracts for Jacobson, Gape, Stewart, Wings, Stockdale. Yeah, Gape, not sure about Gape. We said this last week. The rest, fine. Vokes, fine for another year. Then we've got the ones that are questionable, maybe. The ones in the sort of the bit more of a background. The bar. He's a forward, if you're interested. Not that we ever see him. I wonder why he's had his contract put forward. I wonder whether we're going to see him a little bit more on the bench and coming on for Vokes, because somebody has got to replace Akinfenwa in being that last sort of 10-minute when we're desperate. And I wonder whether we're going to start seeing a bit more of that guy. Dickinson, well, he's a goalkeeper, and that's why we never see Dickinson. Parsons is a midfielder. You can only presume that if he's doing these contracts, then we are going to see them at some point. And the other one, Horgan, which, you know what, I think, well, maybe Horgan should be off, really. Don't like paying him particularly. I'm not sure we get our money's worth. And I wonder what else we could get for that money. So they're the Wycombe players coming and going, or coming. We haven't had any that have turned up just yet. I wonder when and if. We've said last week about where we feel we need 1 or 2 little replacements, like left back, because although we've done a Jacobson, sort of handed out an extension on his contract or whatever, we could really do with somebody that's a bit younger in there. That's certainly one. But anyway, we'll see as the summer goes what we end up with and what we don't. A few other things. That's Wycombe. As for managers, 57 managers left, got the boot. Doesn't leave very many, does it? I mean, what does that leave? 35? Yeah, about 35 that didn't lose their jobs. So one way or another, whether they moved on or got the sack. But yeah. So there were 35 managers who actually managed to get through a season. And I think that's what they basically managed, trying to keep their jobs. I think that's their job is managing to keep their jobs. Moving on to Liverpool's match last night, or Saturday night, if you want to call it that. Well, what happened outside the ground was absolutely shocking. We can say that, but you hold it in France, and we've seen the French police do their job before on the news, and we know how that works. This isn't a news program, but the trouble with the French police nowadays is they are under a bit of a threat because people can film it, so they can say one thing and other people show you on their phones what actually happened, which is a bit of a bind for them, I'm sure. That's the first thing, because that you could say is the most important, but it'll probably be shoved under a carpet. Nothing will happen anyway. Had that been me sprayed somebody in the face, some little kid in the face, standing by a gate outside a football ground who couldn't get in, and I sprayed that in their face, I've got a sneaking suspicion I would actually be in the dock going to prison. And there's just this tiny little thing that suggests maybe the French police won't get in trouble because it never happened, they'll tell us. Now, the game. I thought, I'm just keeping an eye on that Nottingham Forest game while we go up. Half-time verdict, so I don't need to worry about that. I couldn't help but feel, boy, did that look like Wycombe Wanderers versus Milton Keynes. What can you say? I mean, Real Madrid did knock out and beat all the big teams, all the favourites: Manchester City, Liverpool, PSG. What else are they supposed to beat, for goodness sake? Did they deserve to win it? Of course they deserved to win it. And they played Liverpool really well. Liverpool, it's all well and fine looking at your phone saying, oh, look, they had 26 shots or whatever. So did Milton Keynes, but they weren't going to get through Wycombe's defence. And likewise, I just didn't think that Liverpool were going to get through Real Madrid's defence. It looked to me like they were desperate. Liverpool looked desperate. Real Madrid did not look like they were hanging on desperately. They were waiting for their goal and their chance as Liverpool hit them and hit them and hit them, and they got it. And their goal was so simple, and Liverpool's were trying to be so difficult. Now, isn't this where everybody stands up and says, but we were the better football team? Well, no, actually, because Real Madrid beat PSG, beat Manchester City, and beat Liverpool. Oh, and Chelsea. I was trying to think of the best teams. I didn't remember Chelsea, not anymore. And so I would actually say Real Madrid deserved to win it. Now, even without Kieran, we will sort of just mention a couple of things about Liverpool. Mane is looking at leaving, going to Bayern Munich. Should he? Shouldn't he? He doesn't look a happy bunny, does he? Salah doesn't look a happy bunny, does he? And he's not playing very well. I think Liverpool are going to have a bit of a turnover. And if Salah stays for his last year of his contract, not a good thing. Mane is they're looking at selling for about 20 odd million, which is nothing. On the other hand, Mbappe for nothing, etc. When we talk about nothing, now I just want to mention something about this, all right, because we get the completely wrong impression when talking about nothing. A player is free, and I want to just have a now I've got to find it, of course. I just want to suggest that what they mean by free isn't free. all the little deals that come in a deal. Sorry, I'm just going to put this on hold a second while I. Okay, here we go. This will give you a clue. Okay, let's take somebody worth, say, a £35 million player. So you think, oh, only costs 35 million. He's worth a lot more. So how much actually do you end up paying for that 35 million pound player? Well, you'll pay 1 million. This is guesswork, all right, but these are the other little clauses stuffed in there that you don't hear or see, and there'll be a load more. Can I just say, there will be loads more that you and me never hear about. So you get your 35 million pound player and you think, oh, bargain, but you've got your 1 million performance related bonuses. So if he scores so many goals, they'll give him another million, and that'll be written in his contract. He'll make sure that's in there. Okay. Pretty shocking, really. I mean, I don't get that doing my job. So if I have, as a youth worker, if I have sort of, 30 kids walk through the door on a Monday night, I don't get the extra million. Extra 26 million is a typical player wages over a 5-year contract. That's the average, by the way, for the Premier League, is 26 million. Remember, I mean, we're talking about, Mr. Average. We're not talking about superstar. We're talking about Mr. Average that we hear about sort of an hour into Match of the Day, and they mention his name once, probably on about sort of 5 million a year. So that'll cost them, of course. Then there's the 3 million sign-on and loyalty bonus. They all get sign-on and loyalty bonuses. What the bloody hell does that mean? Loyalty? I mean, are you loyal to your company and your job? I presume that means you keep your mouth shut, basically. I don't know, I'm guessing. Then you get your 1.3 million agent commission. This seems to be most people's parents at the moment, and brothers or sisters or something. So you keep it in the family, Then you get your 5 million image rights payments to the player. Now, of course, here you go where people like Mbappe and Grealish, etc., can really make a damn sight more than 5 million. Can you imagine how much those sort of players can ask for? Because the image of these players. Did you know Manchester United made a fortune this season? Although they were crap, it was actually up by, they made about 27 million more this year than they did last year. And that's because, well, one, Ronaldo turned up, and how many shirts did they sell? So it's that sort of thing. And the player can say, wait, my name on the back of those shirts is going to sell, and I'm selling this company out there to the general public, and you're going to give me an extra 5 million because my name is going to be on the back of most of those shirts. So can you imagine Mbappe? Then you have the 35 million transfer fee, and then you have the 3 million. Oh, did I say this? Yeah, the sign-on loyalty bonus. So you add that up. So the 35 ends up being 71.3. So you've doubled what it actually costs to sign a guy on. So when we talk about a free, it's never free. It's going to cost that company an absolute arm and a leg anyway. And the more famous they are, the bigger name they are, the better it is. This is why this is the last topic, and then I'll shut up, and we will be back with other things that are really interesting, like pitch invasions, all the other stuff that's going on that are worth talking about. This is it, really. Real Madrid lost out on getting Mbappe because Spanish TV isn't paying much for Spanish football. They can't sell it. This is why it was so important for Real Madrid to win that European Cup, because they have to be in there. But they need names, and they don't have names in Spain at the moment. And they need names, and they were desperate to have the so-called best footballer in their division. They need TV rights. They need people interested in watching their TV and their football and people over here. I mean, kids in my youth club used to wander around with Barcelona shirts on. You say, who do you support? Oh, I'm a Barcelona fan. No. They knew nothing about Barcelona other than there was this tiny little kid called Messi running around with his name on the back. And so they did. And that's why Mbappe saying, even though that deal was sort of sorted, him turning around saying, actually, I'm going to stay playing for PSG, was a complete crash. And that's why the Spanish football organisation got involved, saying, how the bloody hell could you afford it? You must be on the fiddle to be able to pay him because you don't have that money. There is actually a big question of whether they do have that money, or whether they actually, the fair play rules, whether there's one or two of those being broken. It'd be interesting to find out, because French football teams also aren't earning very much, because their TV stuff has gone right down the pan, because nobody's watching it, because the only team that win anything is PSG. Of course, the only team winning anything in this country, we do have two. Thank goodness for that. What are we hoping for next year? What are Liverpool, Manchester City hoping for next year? Well, Manchester City obviously want to win the European Cup. Liverpool want to win the league. Manchester United want to win a game. And maybe with that manager they might. We've got all these things to talk about in the future, but from there on, I'm going to give it a miss now. That's the end of the season. We do have all those things to discuss, whether Burnley are better off without Dyche, whether Everton will make it bigger with Lampard in charge, whether Manchester United are going to crash now or get better, whether Newcastle are going to come along, whether Arsenal had a really good season, and we got so much, and what's going to happen to Wickham. Are we going to be back up there for the playoffs? Were we a success? Weren't we a success? And what's the point of Tottenham being in the Champions League because they ain't going to win it? And with that, we'll say goodbye. Say goodbye, Mike. Goodbye.